Today's video is about rhythm. Counting rhythm, being able to look at the page and know exactly what the rhythm is. That's a skill that we all need as musicians, no matter where we play, what sort of venue or what sort of genre, we need to be able to understand rhythm. So this is from the Alfred book, page 35, and our biggest topic of discussion is going to be eighth notes and how they fit in a different context. So we're going to start here with the first four exercises, and you notice on number one that we're just using a very simple combination, mostly quarter notes and eighth notes. So at the most basic level, if we're in the time signature of 4/4, there's 4 beats in the measure, that's the top number. The second number in the time signature tells us that the quarter note equals 1 beat. So if we have that one little nugget of information, then we build from there. Okay, if a quarter note equals 1 beat, then an eighth note equals half of 1 beat. That's why you see 2 eighth notes beamed together quite frequently. 2 eighth notes coupled together equals 1 full beat, or the equivalent of a quarter note. So we're going to count through there. You'll also notice that in the book they're using numbers 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now I have had students say, oh, that's so confusing because I'm thinking they're talking about finger numbers, and then I get all jumbled up. The good news is here we are not concerned about playing a particular note. This is just a rhythm exercise. So in fact, you could clap the rhythms if you wanted, especially as we're doing the first ones that are hands alone. That could very certainly work out for you. But what I'm most focused on is counting the number of beats of the measure, and that's what the book is trying to show you. So the numbers are not finger numbers, they're trying to total up to 4 beats each measure, because that's the time signature we're in for number 1. After we get to the end of the measure, there's a bar line, and then we start again back at 1 until we reach 4 and so forth. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to count 3 and 4 and then we're going to go on and start the first measure. Okay, I'm going to head to the piano here. You're welcome to join me. I'm just going to play, if you want to play it, I'm just going to play G here above middle C. It doesn't really matter if you're playing or clapping, as long as we're counting and working on this rhythm together. Okay, so if your hand is ready, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 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 3 and 4 and. You notice that I was consistently counting 1 and 2 and 3. I always had the and in there. The reason is it's much easier when you're just starting with this subdivision of eighth notes to always count 1 and 2 and. If it's a quarter note, then just count 1 and hold it. 1 and 2 and. That way when the eighth notes come, you're already in the right frame of mind to play and to say that rhythm without any hesitation. Most of all, the beat has to be steady. It's like a heartbeat. You want it to keep it steady at all times. We're going to head down to number 2. This one, if you'll notice, is in 3/4 time. So we're going to take a look at that. And also on number 2, I want to point out there's one new friend that you might want to think about before we get too far down the road. And that is the third measure has a quarter note with a dot after it. So if you haven't done that rhythm before, the basic idea of a dotted rhythm is the dot always adds half of the original note's value. Okay, we just said the quarter note a moment ago. The quarter note equals 1 beat. What is half of 1 beat? Well, that would have to be an eighth note. So if I were to take the quarter note and divide it, the quarter note equals 2 eighth notes put together. Now we're going to add a third eighth note with the dot. So it would be 1 and 2. The last note after that, you'll see there's an eighth note following that dotted quarter note. So all together, those 2 beats would be counted 1 and 2 and it's followed by a quarter note 3 and. So the dot basically adds to whatever the original note is. It's an addition problem. Okay, so let's get into the saddle. Here's number 2. If you'll join me at the keyboard. All right, still up stems. We're going to take the same note G in the right hand. 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. So if you need a little help with that dotted rhythm, you can play that several times over to get that feeling. So I'm going to pause and do measure 3. Let's do it twice in a row. If you're having a little trouble there, you can follow along. So it'll be, here we go, 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 again, 1 and 2 and 3 and. All right, so let's work on that a little bit. Number 3, we go back to 4/4 time. This time both hands are going to have a function. The down stems are left hand here. So let's get both hands on the keys, or if you're clapping, you can just tap each leg, whichever way works for you, wherever you are at in your situation. I'm going to take that right hand, continue on the G. Left hand, let's play U with the 3rd finger on a C, just so I get 2 different pitches. That makes it easier for us to hear the different functions that are happening there. So we'll start with the right hand. You'll notice that measure 2, we flip down to the left hand, and then at measure 3, we start putting hands together. All right, so here we go. We're going to take it nice and slow. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Left hand, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Together, 1 and 2 and 3. Right, together, right, and together, and 4, and. So on that time, you notice I didn't always say the numbers. Sometimes I gave you directions on which hand played, together, then right, together, things like that. It does seem to help when I've done that with students. So whichever way works best for you, but that is how that works. Noticing that the rhythms were starting, the hands started together at measure 3, and also at measure 4, you notice that the first beat, the hands are starting together. So be cautious. On measure 3, the 3rd beat, the hands split up a little bit. So you'll see that measure like this at beginning of 3. It's 1 and 2 and together, right, together. Measure 4 starts together, right, together. So be cautious. You know when that left hand stays put and when it strikes again. So if you're having a little trouble with that coordination, it is a bit of right brain, left hand coordination. If you're having a struggle with that, then practice hands alone. Right hand first, then left hand, then even slower, put it hands together as slowly as you need to. The coordination will come. Finally, we get to number 4. This is back to 3/4 time. We do have that dotted rhythm, so we're going to do that several times. And again, we're using both hands. I'm going to use those same pitches. So here we go. 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 left. 1 and 2 and 3 and together and 2 and together and 1 and 2 and 3 and. I'm going to play it one more time. I'm not going to talk out loud this time and let you do the counting. Here we go. 2 and go and. Did you make it? Did you get the counting? If you didn't, go back and keep practicing. This is a really great exercise for us to do. Okay, so congratulations, we made it through that first half of the page. Take a sigh of relief. That feels great, right? Okay, if there's anything that's still causing you a little bit of trouble, feel free to go back and listen to those again. I want to move forward now, however, to the new time signature of 6/8. So this is our first time in this chapter. In this book that we've talked about, 6/8 is in this unit. So 6/8 time, the top number 6. Okay, so there's 6 beats in a measure. What is different, of course, is the bottom number is no longer 4, but it is 8. So in this case, it's standing 8 equals 8th note. So we're having 6 8th notes. That could be a full measure right there. So what we're doing is taking the note values, 8th note, quarter note, half note, dotted half note, and we're going to take that and just spin everything down one slot. So let's try it this way. In 4/4 time, the quarter note was 1 beat. The 8th note was half of 1 beat. Okay, the quarter note is 1 beat, the half note, 2 beats, and the dotted half note, 3 beats. Now we're taking it so that the 8th note, 1 complete beat all by itself. So it's a whole new world here. We've changed the relationship of how these values work together. And that might seem like, oh, this is so confusing. But just remember, you as a single person, you play many different roles in your life. Maybe you're a student right now, but you're also a daughter or a son, or maybe you're an aunt, or maybe you're a parent. And so your child sees you as the parent role. So we play so many different roles in our life, but we're still the same person. It's kind of the same idea with these note values. The quarter note is always going to equal double of an eighth note. In this case, you have an eighth note now equaling one beat. Okay, so if an eighth note equals one beat, that means the quarter note has to equal double. That's going to be 2 beats. Okay, so take a look at number 5. So we have on this first measure 3 eighth notes together. They're beamed together to show that they're all eighth notes, and it's easier to just put that beam instead of drawing the little flag. They just put a straight line across the 3 of them. They'll still be counted as 3 separate beats. So it would be 1, 2, 3. That's followed by a quarter note. So that would be 4, 5, 2 beats, and then 1 eighth note by himself, beat 6. So altogether that measure would sound like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so keeping that in mind. And if you're a visual learner, you might want to write in those beat numbers so you can remember this relationship's changed a little bit. Okay, and then going on to measure 2 and 3 of number 5, you notice that the quarter note shows up again. So the quarter note was 2 beats. However, this time there's a dot behind the note. So a quarter note with a dot. The dot this time is adding still half. So what is half of 2? The quarter note equals 2 beats. 2 plus 1, now it's 3 beats total. So in this case, in 6/8 time, a dotted quarter note equals 3 beats. So measure 2 would sound like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So basically half of a measure. Let's walk through that one. So here's number 5. All right, same position if you're following along on the keyboard. Okay. 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, hold, 5, 6. Only the right hand was involved there, so you really could focus on that counting. We're going to carry on to number 6 in 6/8. That's a lot of 6s. All right, and nothing terribly new here. We're noticing that sometimes we have the quarter note followed by the eighth note. This first measure, in fact, does that pattern twice, so it gives you a chance to work on that rhythm pattern. Here we go, right hands. 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So again, if you're having trouble keeping up, I suggest you grab a pencil and write in those numbers underneath. It just takes a little while sometimes for the brain and the eyes to recognize that no longer counting the quarter note as 1 beat, but 2 beats. Whew, it feels like the world's changed a little bit. So sometimes you need that visual reinforcement to help you not go back to the 4/4, 3/4 idea that you're most accustomed to. That's changing. All right, lastly, we have number 7 and number 8 coming up. Noticing both hands are getting involved. Let's try that to the keyboard. Okay, so 7, right hand, you're starting us off again. We do seem to be more right hand dominant on this page. 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Left, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Together, 2, 3. Together, 5, 6. 1, 2, together, 4, 5, 6. So obviously the last 2 measures, yeah, they're the most challenging there. So let's take a look at those a little more closely if you need the help with that. Right hand is simply holding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on measure 3 of number 7. Left hand, you're going to come in together, 1, 2, restrike. So the third beat is another strike. Right hand, you're just going to stay still there and hold your note. 1, 2, left. Together, 2, left. Like that. Okay, and then the last measure, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Left hand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the difference between the left hand is going to strike on beat 1 and beat 3, whereas the right hand strikes all 3 beats. So let's put that down to the counter. 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is the last measure one more time. Okay, and we've made it. The final one is number 8. Oh, feels good to get this far, doesn't it? So we are going to get a little more involved, still using both hands together. Watch those rhythms carefully. You might want to pause and write out what the rhythm is if you're still working on this 6/8 counting. All right, here we go together now at the keyboard, or if you're clapping. 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Together. 1, left, left. 4, 5, 6. Together. 2, 3, right. 5, 6. You notice it's always that last measure or so. It gets challenging, right? So the last measure of number 8, there's a half note present, a dotted half note. So in the 6/8 time, we said, okay, quarter note is 1 beat, but not in 6/8. It's actually 2 beats. Don't fall into my trap there. See if you're paying attention. So the quarter note is 2 beats. If the quarter note is 2 beats, then the half note is double. So that'll be 4 beats. Okay, the dot adds half of the original total. So a half of 4 is 2. I'm going to add 2 more beats. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, that's the entire measure. So in 6/8 time, a dotted half note would actually be the entire measure. So these are just some rhythm patterns that we're trying to get you used to, thinking through it mentally, playing it without being worried about which particular note we're playing, what finger number, just trying to get these rhythms that you can feel these pulses and where the heartbeat is. So thanks so much for tuning in and joining me. So fun having you along. If this video was helpful to you, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you at the next rhythm reading.